Why do we fail so much when it comes to weight loss? Well, this includes me. I actually failed, and I failed for 2.5 years. Hello fam, and welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Neal, and this channel is all about helping you if you're a woman over 40 or like me over 50 get in fantastic shape. And one of the things that really hampers your progress is listening to a lot of the noise that is going around, particularly online, about how to lose fat, how to lose weight. So I am going to separate in this video facts from fiction. I made most of these mistakes myself, so I'm going to talk about my own experience and why they don't work. So myth number 1 is you can eat badly and sweat it out at the gym, right? Or sweat it out by working out at home. Well, unfortunately, that's really not true. And I used to do something similar to this. So I used to think, oh, I can just eat what I like, then I can just sweat it out and undo all that bad stuff that I might have done with alcohol and food. And that is simply not the case. And in fact, when I was running, I was actually gaining more and more weight, because one of the things it does is it actually causes you to get more hungry and you can eat more. And there are a number of other problems with it, and if you want me to talk about running in another video and make another video about it, do let me know in the comments section. But any kind of training will not undo the bad work that you've done with your food intake. So if you've ever heard that phrase, you cannot outrun your fork, it's really true. Nutrition is absolutely key. When I started focusing on my nutrition, that's when I saw amazing and even incredible, some would say, results. Myth number 2, and I did this, is intermittent fasting. Now, some of you are going to be screaming at the screen right now saying, Melissa, that's simply not true. But there's actually no scientific evidence, particularly for women over 40, that intermittent fasting works as a weight loss tool. I'm not talking about the health benefits, I'm talking about whether it actually works as a weight loss tool. And I know from my own personal experience, when I actually did intermittent fasting, I didn't see results, because what I was doing was actually starving myself until around lunchtime. I was actually training, strength training on an empty stomach, which is really bad news. You should never do that. And so it was really hard for me to make progress with muscle building. My cortisol levels went up. What happens if your cortisol level goes up is you can get stress fat. I literally did not see any progress or benefit when it came to fat loss. My advice with intermittent fasting is don't focus on when you eat, focus on what you eat, and that's getting the right balance of macronutrients in. That's your protein, carbohydrates and fats. And if you want to know more about that, I will link a video in the description that tells you exactly how to eat when you're over 40 and what the right nutrition is. Myth number 3, if you're vegan or vegetarian, you can't get enough protein in. That is absolutely not true. You can get the 1 gram of protein for every pound in your body weight, or if you weigh over 170 pounds, go for your goal body weight, and that's per day. You can get that protein in, even if you're vegan, even if you're vegetarian. How do I know this? Because I write meal plans for my coaching clients, many of them whom are vegan. I eat a lot of plant-based foods myself. I'm not fully plant-based. I actually eat meat and fish as well, but I do have days where I go completely plant-based, and it is absolutely possible. Check out my What I Eat in a Day videos, because they actually have lots of plant-based meals and tips for getting your protein in if you're plant-based. Myth number 4, carbohydrates are bad. Carbohydrates are actually good, and they're one of the building blocks for muscle building. And more muscle is going to help you burn more fat. That doesn't mean getting bulky. That's about putting on muscle that you've lost through the aging process. It's about building lean muscle. And building lean muscle, yes, you do need to get your protein in. That's really, really important. But carbohydrates are really important as well. If you're practicing a low carbohydrate diet, like a ketogenic diet, and you're trying to build muscle and you're over 40 and female, it's going to be really hard, because it's actually hard to put on muscle at this stage in life. So you want to give yourself every opportunity, and carbohydrates, they're going to give you performance with your workouts. And when I started incorporating more carbohydrates, personally, I actually lost more fat by incorporating more carbohydrate. When I'm prepping for a show, I eat all the way through my bikini competition preparations, and I'm actually losing body fat and getting lean. So yes, we have to limit carbohydrates, and there are carbohydrates, some are better than others. So the carbohydrates to avoid are refined sugar. Keep things like white flour to a minimum. So processed carbohydrates, keep them to a minimum. And instead opt for sweet potato, quinoa, oatmeal, squashes, whole grain rices. All of those are absolutely fantastic, and they're going to keep you fuller for longer, give you fibre, energy, the much needed energy to get through the day, and performance in your workouts. Number 5 myth is it's calories in versus calories out. But our bodies have changed once we hit our 40s. This is what I used to do, just focus on the amount of calories I was eating. And that's just not enough, because your metabolism has changed, and the way that your body responds to certain types of food has changed. You need to be a lot more careful about the contents of what you're eating and not just worry about calories. So some fitness and weight loss influencers will say, you know, as long as you're in what's called a calorie deficit, then it doesn't matter. And a calorie deficit is burning more energy than you're consuming. At this stage in life, that doesn't work. And I found that to my cost, where I was just taking my calories lower, but I wasn't focusing on the balance of macronutrients. So that's your protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And you also need to be focusing on the types of foods that you're eating. So in order to balance your hormones and therefore see fat loss, you need to be focusing mainly on a healthy whole foods diet and avoiding things like processed foods and refined sugars as much as possible. And if you do take your protein high, it can be an absolute game changer. So that's 1 gram of protein for every pound in your body weight. Or if you weigh over 170 pounds, shoot for your goal body weight, and that amount of protein per day is what you need to be taking in. This will make an amazing difference when you hit your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and beyond, because it's so much harder to use body fat. And so that calories in versus calories out, although that worked when you were younger, you need more when you're older. You just need to be more precise, and then you'll see results. My number 6 myth, and this is probably one of the most important things, and it kind of underpins my whole strategy for weight loss, and that is thinking that weight loss in the scale is exactly the same as fat loss. And it's not. It's completely different. What you want to be thinking about is getting a better body composition. So when you're over 40, you want to be thinking about building and retaining muscle mass. That's what's going to improve your metabolism. Weight on the scale does not necessarily reflect muscle mass. And in fact, some people can actually gain weight on the scale and actually lose body fat. you need to be paying much closer attention to the other markers of fat loss. So that's taking measurements. I absolutely love pictures. Pictures tell 1,000 words. How your clothes fit. If they're starting to kind of get a little bit loose, you know that you're losing body fat, but it might be that your scale weight is just not changing at all. And the scale can fluctuate for lots of different reasons other than losing body fat or gaining body fat. It's about how hydrated you are, what you've eaten, what time of day you've eaten, whether you've been to the bathroom. It might be that you've trained a really heavy leg day the day before, and so you're going to have a little bit of inflammation, and that's going to make you weigh more. So there are so many variables that you must pay attention to all the other things that are going on. And that requires a certain mindset to not rely too much on scale weight and think about the other markers. Think about improving your body composition. You know, you get these diets that will tell you, well, you can lose 10 pounds in a week. That's actually probably mostly 10 pounds of water. You can't use that as an indication of your success, how much weight you've lost, because if you're losing weight rapidly, what's happening is you're losing water, you're losing muscle mass, and you're probably losing fat as well. But what you want to do is just lose fat, and that requires working on your body composition, putting on muscle and losing fat all at the same time. And that's what's going to give you that fantastic body shape when you're over 40.